Any colour so long as it's black. That's how Henry Ford was able to mass produce the motor car. Nowadays, things are different. Technology is more advanced and the system is more efficient. The products are of a higher quality, and a multitude of colours, options, engines and trims are available for today's customers. But the basic business logic is unchanged. Most cars are built first, then comes the challenge of finding customers for them. The system is designed to do this very well. But customers have changed. They are more demanding, more critical, more price sensitive. They want more than just black. Selling from stock is not so good at meeting these demands. So is there another way? The 3-Day Car programme has been a joint research project between the International Car Distribution Programme, Cardiff University's Lean Enterprise Research Centre, the School of Management at Bath University, in conjunction with some 20 industrial sponsors drawn from all areas of the automotive supply chain, that has researched this problem and come up with a solution. A coordinated automotive supply chain building cars to order that are delivered in a short lead time.
The project was designed from the beginning to demonstrate how we could telescope the whole lead time from order to manufacture of a car to get it down as tightly as possible. And we used the 3-day car really to highlight our ambitions. We never said from the beginning that every car would be produced within 3 days, but what we wanted to do was to develop the systems, the organisation, the mechanisms that would show how it could happen.
The situation with the car industry today globally is that we've really spent the last 10 or 12 years catching up on the Japanese, particularly the European and American manufacturers.
We have the issue that the industry is just not profitable enough and has to generate new product, has to bring the new technologies in for emissions and for pollution, has to try and launch technologies for safety and for end-of-life vehicles at a time when it isn't generating enough return. And that's a difficult circle to square.
From a manufacturing perspective, it's a very slow communication process, so you don't actually know what the customers want. It's gone through national sales companies, it's gone through head office, and the manufacturer is so far away from the customer, he hasn't got a clue really what the customer desires.
We're building to maintain a manufacturing schedule, not to produce customer satisfaction.
3-Day Car research has found that typically it takes 40 days to order, build and deliver a customer-specified vehicle, with the majority of the delay not caused by actually making the vehicle, but in the planning, organising and information processing activities that surround it. The average order takes a month before it hits the factory, yet the actual build only takes 1.5 days. In terms of cost, choice and delivery, the buying experience can be a frustrating one for the consumer and for the dealer.
Today, 1 in 4 customers don't actually get the car that they set out to buy. And cars, whether it's split between the consumer and the producer, whatever, cars are £500 more expensive than they need to be as a result of not building to order.
There's a lot of stock that's not made to order, and our job, if you like, is to sell that. So we have stock coming at us, whether we like it or not.
For the dealer, it usually means that they've got to make some financial adjustment to move the product that is not the product that the customer wants.
The problems are inherent in a system designed for mass production and not short lead time build to order. The programme's research has indicated that customers actually want their cars quickly, with, for example, nearly 60% wanting delivery within 2 weeks and 80% in 3 weeks.
Presently, the system isn't operating as fluidly and flexibly as we'd like to see. And we believe that companies and supply chains that can actually move forward can get a major advantage from adopting a build-to-order 3-day car system.
The only way that we're going to survive in the future is to actually be able to respond to what the customer is asking for. And to do that, we have to introduce flexible processes. It's not only manufacturing, it's the whole way the industry behaves.
The consequences of a system that is too slow to meet customer requirements is that it has to rely on high levels of finished vehicle stock in the market, which at present in the UK stands at around 2 months. And if customers don't get the car of their initial choice and have to compromise, there are significant costs to the system in doing this, such as stock holding costs, interest charges, transportation costs, as well as customer discounts.
A friend of mine just picked up his new BMW and he'd been waiting 8 months for it. 8 months, I mean, that's ridiculous.
It took about 2 months to actually get it. But that was because what I actually wanted wasn't available at the time I asked. I wanted one with automatic.
I definitely wanted a light interior, and that was extremely difficult. I didn't end up with a light interior, but I didn't get black, which I definitely didn't want blank.
It doesn't have a CD player on it, but it has a very good system as it is. But I would have liked to have had a CD player as well.
I'd rather have what I want rather than take something that I didn't want.
I waited because it was one I wanted.
My last car, I bought it, I saw it on the Tuesday and I was driving it away on the Saturday. But I bought a second-hand car because I prefer to buy second-hand because you can do that.
Whatever you buy, it's nice to get it straight away, isn't it?
The challenges to the industry is now to take the next step, to actually move forward. History does not stop here, and you really have to grasp the nettle on build to order and actually delight the customer and take that huge step forward. And that's going to not only return the industry to profitability, but will enable it to do all sorts of other interesting things with their product range into the future.
So what are the solutions? 3daycar research has shown that the basis on which the system operates needs to be rethought, from being forecast-driven to being order-driven. The fundamental problems can only be overcome if the system works to customer demand and not to forecasts that are inevitably wrong. Such a significant change in running the system will have wide ramifications across the supply chain, and the research programme has identified 6 key principles that build a framework for implementation. Only build cars to customer order. Book orders directly into assembly slots. Make demand visible throughout the supply chain. Minimise complexity while maintaining choice. Proactively manage the flow of orders. Maximise profit across the supply chain. Building cars to customer order means basing production on actual demand only. The result of this is a system that doesn't produce excess vehicle stock, invariably cars that customers don't want, bringing significant savings. This is the core principle that drives vehicle and component production. This is not easy to do because there are risks involved, such as capacity utilisation going down if demand is variable, leading to greater production costs.
It's going to make us much more efficient because we're going to have to reduce the cycle. And in reducing the cycle, we're going to have to become much more flexible. And in doing that, we have the ability then to meet what the customer wants when he wants it.
There is a real opportunity in terms of freeing up the people at the front end, the retailers as I refer to them, to get on and maximise the customer experience and really retail, rather than be sort of consumed in managing that relationship with the stock and with the manufacturer.
In order to get the dealer's confidence, we have to supply what we said we would supply. So if we commit that we will build that car on such and such a day and it will be delivered X days later, we've got to deliver that.
Identification with the end customer is going to be something that will help everybody in an organisation to be more responsive. So if, for example, a simple thing that will come out of our vision for a 3-day car is that every car that goes down a production line will have a customer's name and address attached to it. And so the people who put that car together will be able to envisage that that car is going to a particular customer, rather than just an anonymous product rolling off, being held in a stockyard somewhere.
The fewer of those we have built by guess, and the more of those we have built by certainty and order, then the more opportunity we have to get the cost right, to get the quality right, and to give the customer exactly what he wants.
Currently, a new car order takes around a month to reach the factory. In the future, it should flow directly from the customer into the production schedule, which will cut out the main delay in the present system. This is already the case in some other industries, such as air travel, where orders directly book capacity of the service.
To move away from the current ordering process and its time lags and wastes, we need to integrate the demand from customers through dealers directly with the plant and take away the middleman, the national sales company and the head office role, and in order to ensure that what customers specifically want is what the manufacturer builds.
A company like Tesco is probably far ahead of the motor industry and has a much more responsive supply chain and has an equally complicated product range, 80, 90,000 products in a typical superstore.
If you think about it, the distribution centres that we operate, the trucks that we run, the forklift trucks that we operate, the racking systems that we have are available off the shelf to any retailer. So what differentiates us from our competitors? It's two things. It's the people who work for Tesco in the Tesco team, it's their capability, it's their obsessive focus on customers. And the other thing that helps us to differentiate is our IT systems. So IT systems that help us to be really responsive, to understand what customers are buying, what they want, and how to use that information system to help us move product through the supply chain as rapidly as possible to meet that demand.
For build to order to work, all players in the system need to know as quickly as possible exactly what the customer wants. Only then can component production, vehicle assembly and logistics operations work together efficiently in short time frames.
The relationship between Ford and the component suppliers, or any other manufacturer and component suppliers, is that it has to be fully integrated in the future. What we want to build every day, we have to let our suppliers know, so that we cut down the supply chain and we deliver into the plant what is required to build the vehicles to customer demand at the point it's required. If we don't do that, then we will carry inventory, and one or other of the other manufacturers will not. Inventory is cost. Unless you get the cost out of the process, you won't be profitable or competitive.
It's our belief that probably in the short term, during a transition period, there may be a small amount of extra parts actually from suppliers, just to buffer to the change process. But we're talking of no more than 10%. However, in the longer term, we see that ultimately we should be able to take stock out of the system, even in the supplier part of the supply chain.
The 3-day car or the build-to-order car will require far more advanced notice from the point of order through the production process so that we can anticipate that that car is available and plan our loads accordingly.
In such a system, enhanced IT plays a major role.
We have to link together whole supply chains. We have to improve the integration inside the manufacturer, and we have to improve the linkage both outbound and inbound. Now, those all require investments in particularly integration technology. And I think if we don't tackle those inhibitors of the legacy, and if we don't exploit the opportunities brought about by standards-based computing along the lines of using the internet within the supply chain, then we really can't achieve a radical change such as 3-day car.
For a true built-to-order system to succeed, to follow the theory to the letter, you need complete transparency between the dealer and the manufacturer, and ultimately the customer. It's the customer at the end who's the customer for both us and the dealership. We must never lose sight of that.
Well, the key requirement from the IT is for end-to-end visibility within the supply chain in real time, transparent, that allows us to reduce latency, improve responsiveness, and drive out the inventory that's associated with the broken links, if you like, that exist today.
Minimising complexity involves designing the vehicle for flexible production. Unnecessary complexity leads to delays which need to be avoided in a build-to-order system. 3-day car research has shown that this does not have to compromise customer choice.
In order to minimise the lead time for the customer and to minimise the unreliability effect of manufacturing on the timing of the car, the order should be identified physically with the vehicle as late as possible in the production process.
Really what we're trying to do is reduce the complexity of the car in the body and white process, because that is really the key to where cost lies. So actually, if we can keep the number of options very, very low, up to the point where we paint them, and decouple at that point and then pull product through from that point and actually put a very wide variety to give the customers what they're wanting from that point. That's really a system that will give maximum flexibility but at minimum cost of manufacturing.
There are new technologies coming in which allow you to paint with a batch size of 1 without the effect on the environment. Or you can look at different body technologies such as space frames, which again minimise pollution effects.
Rather than accepting variable or seasonal patterns in demand and simply reacting to them, in the future, a build-to-order system will require proactive customer demand management. This involves understanding the needs of different customer segments and the root causes of variability to ensure that the assembly plants can cope.
If you're selling from stock, you always have in the back of your mind a need to present the customer with one of those cars on the list in front of you. So you'll be trying to adjust the customer's preferences to meet what you have. You can never have a completely unconstrained conversation. Whereas if you're dealing with a customer and offering him a complete build-to-order product, build-to-order car, you can say, here is the complete list of things, and you can have any one of those things that you want. And the transaction will be completely free of any encumbrances.
Customers are becoming much more sophisticated and have a better understanding of the whole process and are more demanding, and rightly so. And I think as a result, the industry has realized that it has to face up to this issue, and they are working together very seriously now to find a way of delivering the right product at the right time at the right price, which is vital.
It is much more like an EasyJet booking process, and it is also one that demands similar kind of revenue management systems from the hotel and the airline industry in order for the manufacturer to maximize the revenue he gains and decide the priorities for the orders and the types of customers he has.
A built-to-order system will give us the ability to fill in the gaps much more effectively. A built-to-order system, in theory, would allow you to say, right, I have X number of customer orders today. I know I'm going to have a lull in production because it's a quiet month. It's a July or it's a December month. Therefore, I know that in advance, and I can plan my fleet vehicles, my demonstrator vehicles, my showroom vehicles, and fill in the gaps.
Currently, each part of the system tries to optimize its own position, as there is no incentive to act collectively. And overall, these localized approaches lead to a sub-optimization of the whole system.
The current system has been built up over the last, let's say, 100 years, and it's really been a system that's been designed by the different people in the supply chain to try and optimize what they're actually doing.
Well, build to order, of course, will mean far more rapid delivery from the point of production to the point of the consumer accepting the car. That in itself will create inefficiencies in terms of increased vehicle kilometres of our trucks. However, that can be mitigated by combining the traffic flows from several manufacturers upon the same truck.
The 3-day car concept has clearly got huge benefits right throughout the supply chain. I mean, it actually takes cost out. We spend huge amounts of money tracking where cars are in the manufacturing process. You know, first of all, spending time working out when we can get a vehicle. I know this varies by manufacturer, but then tracking where it is, informing the customer to and fro. I mean, some customers want very continual updates over many months as to what the status is on their car.
A build-to-order system will do a number of things for the industry. First of all, it will focus upon looking at waste and profit in the whole of the supply chain, right the way from the customer, right the way back to the factory, to the supply chain, through the design and product development process, all the way through. At the present moment, a lot of people in the industry only look at their own particular part of the industry, don't optimize the whole chain. So huge gains in productivity and in quality could be made by looking at the whole supply chain.
The 3-day car principles represent a route map to move from a stock push system to one that is capable of building vehicles to order in short lead times. All involved in the sector should use this map in the development of their short lead time build-to-order strategies and to help them prepare for the next critical stage of the 3-day car journey, that of implementation. Some companies have already embarked on this, and many others will join them soon.
I think build to order will happen. I think it will take a lot longer than some people might like it to take, but I think it will benefit everyone, including the supply chain, pre-vehicle manufacturer, the vehicle manufacturers, the retailers, and very clearly the customers, because they will ultimately get what they want.
I'm absolutely sure that the success of some of the early pioneers will force everybody else to follow suit. So I don't think this is an option. I think everybody's going to have to do build to order in one form or another. The future for all people in the automotive sector, and I mean everybody from raw material suppliers right through to people who work in dealerships, the people we've encompassed in the 3-day car project, the future for them is going to have to be in different types of relationships. And people along the supply chain are going to have to work much better together and think about the end customer as their customer. So building that sort of different type of relationship will, I'm sure, be the way forward. And I think that's probably the single most important message of what we've done. And if you integrate the people on the shop floor with the customer base, with the dealer body, with the supply base, so that everybody is actually all pulling in the same direction, you'll achieve it. The one thing I'd say to people in the motor industry is listen to this message, understand the fundamental implications of build to order. Yes, it's going to be hard to do, but this is the future, and I don't think anybody can escape doing this in one form or another.
The rationale for change is clear. There are real benefits for all: component suppliers, manufacturers, logistics providers, dealers, and consumers. The 3-day car programme has defined how to do it. It will require a revolution in approach, but result in a reconnection with the customer. And for those who change, the prize will be substantial. It's a win-win situation. A more efficient system meeting customer needs and leading to greater profitability.
3 days, I think. I'd probably go for the 3 days, because it means that I'm going to be able to have exactly what I want to specification at a certain time, and so I can plan towards that.